topics and opinions expressed in the following show are solely those of the host and their guests and not those of W4CY Radio, its employees, or affiliates. We make no recommendations or endorsements for radio show programs, services, or products mentioned on air or on our web. No liability, explicit or implied, shall be extended to W4CY Radio, its employees, or affiliates. Any questions or comments should be directed to those show hosts. Thank you for choosing W4CY Radio.
Welcome to the Connected Table Live. We're your hosts, Melanie Young and David Ransom, your insatiably curious culinary couple. We enjoy bringing you the amazing people who work front and center and behind the scenes in wine, food, spirits, and hospitality around the world. We're bringing you live today from our virtual background, which is in Umbria. We are in Montefalco. Montefalco is a marvelous wine region in Umbria, which we have visited, I think, 3 times, right, David?
Yes, it is. That was our 3rd trip this past June.
Yeah, and it's got some great history to it. And we are going to be speaking today with a member of a very historical family who's been an important family in Montefalco for over a century. We are talking with Valentino Valentini from the winery Bocale in Montefalco. He was a mayor of Montefalco at some point, and we'll talk about that. The winery was started by his grandfather, Giuseppe, and we had the great pleasure. I've visited twice, and we visited together in June. So, Valentino Valentini, welcome to the Connected Table.
Ciao, good morning. Ciao, Melanie, and ciao, David. Thank you to invite me today, and thank you for coming to visit my winery in June.
Well, we had such a great time while we were with you, and I think it was a beautiful day. A little bit of rain came through as we were standing out on your terrace, and we went inside and had some beautiful wines. So it's nice to get you on the show to talk about your family and your winery's history, and a little bit about your family history in Montefalco as well.
Yeah, my grandfather started in 1926, so I'm a long history for my winery. Yeah, I'm the 3rd generation. Yeah,
that's right. And what is your family's connection to Umbria and Montefalco? You mentioned when you sent us material that the family's been involved for over a century. Give us a short history on the long history.
Yeah, my grandfather and the family, they moved from a small town close to Montefalco, Gualdo Cattaneo, that is already in the area of Sagrantino, from Gualdo Cattaneo to Montefalco in the 1926. They established it in the hills of in the lower part of the side of the Rio Montefalco that look to Spoleto in the southeast side. And they started with the oil mill, with the winery. They have a big farm, 50 hectares, and they made everything, cereals, forage. They have a lot of animals, cow, ox, and they make, of course, wine and olive oil. And there was 5 brothers, 12 nephews, so a big family, like in the Italian style in this time. And people that went in the farm of my grandfather, they bring the jug, the unit to buy wine and olive oil, the 2-liter jug, the 5-liter jug, 45 was the bigger, because my grandfather, they don't make the bottling like today. Now we bottling the 99% of our production. So people bring the unit to buy wine and olive oil. The unit of 2 liters was called Bocale in the local dialect. Bocale means 2-liter jug. And probably people started to say, we would like to go to buy 1 Bocale, 2 Bocale to the Valentini family. And then they started to call my family Bocale. So Bocale became in few years the nickname of my family. And when my generation, the 3rd generation, chose to restore everything, we replanted all the farm. In the end of the 90s, we rebuilt the building of the winery, and we started with a totally different system with the Harvest 2005. We choose, in honor to the founders, the name Bocale. So now we have in our bottles, in all our wines, in our olive oil, the brand Bocale. Thanks to my grandfather and the brothers.
I love it. It's a great story, and it's an easy winery name to pronounce. And I could see it. It's like in the United States, we have 7-Eleven. The store is open from 7 a.m. to 11 p.m., and people go to the 7-Eleven. So Bocale is where you went and got your wine. But when did you start bottling the wine and becoming a modern winery?
We started with the harvest 2005. We replanted the vineyard in 3 years, 1999, 2000, 2001. And you know that when you replanted all the vineyard, you need to wait minimum 3 years to start to have grape. So we changed everything. We invested in the indigenous grape. So we planted Trebbiano Spoletino, that is the white indigenous grape. We planted Sagrantino, that is the indigenous grape. And we just started with a totally new system with the harvest 2005. We changed also the kind of the grape because, you need to know that after the Second War, all the farmers, they changed the indigenous grape with the international grapes. Why? Because the production per hectare of the indigenous grapes is very, very low. And in a poor Italy after the Second War, all the farmers try to change the kind of grape to make more production, to have more income. And so they changed with other kind of grapes. So we found a very, very small quantity of Sagrantino in my vineyard. So we choose to invest it in the unique grape of this area. Trebbiano Spoletino, that is the grape of the valley between Trevi and Spoleto. Trevi is the town that you have behind you. We can see a beautiful view of the valley, of the Umbria valley, and we can see Trevi that give the name to the Trebbiano Spoletino. The Latin name of this town that is in front of Montefalco was Trebbia in the Roman time. So it's the grape that grew up from Trevi and Spoleto. In the opposite side, in front of you, there is the hill of Montefalco. And Sagrantino is traditionally the grape of the hills. And 4 small towns around Montefalco, they can produce Sagrantino. So it's a very, very small area, tiny, tiny area for 25,000 people in the area of Sagrantino. So we invested in the indigenous grape, and we start to bottling all our production. We change also the market because my grandfather's market was a local market. With the jug, you can make few kilometers. Now we export around the 70% of our production. Your country, United States, is the most important market for me. We sell in 23 states in the States, from Washington State to Florida, from Massachusetts to Florida, and many, many countries also in the States in the middle. Then we sell, of course, in Canada, we sell in Brazil, or North Europe. We sell also in Asia, in Taiwan, in Japan, in South Korea, sometime in China. So we are a small winery because we produce 40,000 bottles. One step behind because all the farm is 25 acres and the vineyard is around 15 acres. And we produce a very small production, 40,000 bottles every year. But we try to have a warm market. So the 70% of our wines stay in the export market.
That's quite an accomplishment for such a short amount of time. Congratulations on that. Yeah. I want to talk about a little bit about what sets Montefalco apart from, say, other regions in Umbria or that part of Italy as well, because it's got a very unique terroir. Sagrantino is a grape that really grows only there. Tell us a little bit about Sagrantino, your main grape, and then also the terroir that really helps it be successful as a growing philosophy.
Of course.
Yeah, let's start with terroir.
Yeah, the first information I would like to say, where is Umbria? Because Umbria is not one of the most known regions in the United States. Everybody knows Tuscany, Sicily, Rome, of course, the big important town like Venice, like Naples. We are exactly in the middle of Italy. Umbria is one of the smaller regions in Italy. We are exactly between Rome and Florence. We are the green heart of Italy. If you give a look in the picture behind you, the first color that you can see is green. We are the only region in the peninsula area without the sea, but we have a sea green because we have the olive trees and the vines. That is the first color, the color that you see when you see the hills of Umbria. Umbria is famous for San Francis. Is the town of Assisi, probably is one of the most important in Umbria. And Montefalco is a very long history in the wine process. Many people think that Montefalco is a very young area for wine production. We have many documents from the Roman time, from Pino Vecchio, that he wrote about the vines in the hills of Montefalco and Bevagna. So we made wine in Montefalco from the Roman times. Then in Montefalco, we have in the ancient library, you was talking about that I was the mayor of Montefalco. I was the mayor from 1999 to 2009. And we discovered a lot of documents, old documents in the ancient library of Montefalco. And we have many statues of the town hall with the rule to grow up a grape, to sell grape, to make wine. And we have one important document from the 1520 that the town hall established the day to start the harvest. The document started to say nobody start to pick up the grape before the 20th of September. Means that 500 years ago, the quality of the grape was so important to make high quality wines. Then we have a very interesting document in Montefalco in the 1703 when the town hall give the first license to sell a glass of wine, because before was not allowed to drink outside home. You can buy a jug, a demi-john, and bring home and drink. The Franciscan monks, they was very, very powerful, because we were under the Pope domination in this time, in this side of Italy. In the middle of Italy, we had 600 years of Pope domination. And in this time, the town hall give to the Franciscan monks the license to start a modern wine bar. And then we had a very strange time, a black period, the last century, from the First World War and the Second World War. And especially after the Second World War, Montefalco lost a lot of population, from 8,000 people to 5,000 people in the north of Italy, in the north of Europe. And we started to make wine with a modern process in the 70s. In the 90s, Montefalco became probably one of the most important area in Italy, after the big and the most known area like Tuscany, Veneto, Friuli, Piemonte, of course. And in Italy started in the 80s, in the 90s, a very interesting process. The rediscovery of all the indigenous grape in the center south of Italy. Now Sicily is unknown than 40 years ago. Puglia, Campania, Umbria was totally unknown. Now, and Sagrantino was the first area in the center south of Italy that started. For this reason, when I was mayor from 2006 to 2009, I was also the president of Italian Wine Cities Association, because everybody recognized that Montefalco was very, very important in this time to discover the indigenous grape in the south side of Italy. And we discovered a very interesting indigenous grape that is a very old grape. The first document to talk about Sagrantino is in the ancient library of Assisi, and is a document of the 16th century. So we know that the name of Sagrantino, of the Sagrantino grape, from many, many years. And this is the reason, because we get very, very easily the highest level of quality and long history in the wine process, that is DOCG, is the highest level of the Italian quality wines, that only 60 wine in Italy can have the label of DOCG on the top of the bottle, so the maximum level of quality. And this is the reason, because we have a long history in the wine process. From the 16th century, we made wine with Sagrantino grape in the hills of Montefalco. Sagrantino is a very particular grape, because a very slow production, 5 tons per hectare. Usually a red grape made 8-9 tons per hectare to make high quality wines. Sagrantino is a very, very small production. And this is the reason, because the farmers changed Sagrantino for other kind of red grapes, like my grandfather. In the end of the 70s, of the last century, 1970s, we founded probably 100,000 plants, vines of Sagrantino, because the Sagrantino was used only for the Passito version. We have Sagrantino dry and Sagrantino Passito. Why? Because we have a very thick skin, so we can dry for 2 months, 2 months and a half Sagrantino grape without problem with the malt. So we can make a sweet wine and dry wine with Sagrantino. And after the Second War, everybody changed Sagrantino with other kind of grape to make the dry wine, the table wine. And they use Sagrantino only for the sweet version. In the end of the 70s, we started to make Sagrantino for the dry wine, and now probably is one of the 10 most important red grapes in Italy, and red wine in Italy. Sagrantino, another information, is the red wine with the biggest concentration of antioxidant at all. Mm-hmm. Sagrantino has 4,000 milligrams more resveratrol than the normal red grape in Italy, and in the world has around 2,000 milligrams per liter. It's a very healthy wine if you drink 1-2 glasses per meal, of course. And one interesting thing, the last one, and then I give you the word to you. When you see the leaves in November, when all the vineyard change color before fall down the leaves, all the leaves usually change color in yellow, from green to yellow. Sagrantino change in red, because the antioxidants stay on the skin and then in the glass when you drink, but also on the leaves. This is the reason because they're in red and not in yellow.
Well, we just have to go there in November, David, because we were there in June and it was hotter than Hades.
The first week of November is beautiful. You can see all the hills yellow with Sangiovese and Trebbiano Spoletino and red with Sagrantino.
So let's talk about what the name is. Why is it called Sagrantino? And let's talk about the we talked about it's a very
because it's very we have a new, because we make many research about the origin of Sagrantino. In the Latin name, Sacer means mass, means happy days, or means something that you need to make a party. But we found many documents in the last 5 years that we discover a different origin of the name Sagrantino. One step behind. The origin of the name of Montefalco comes from Frederick II, the emperor. After the fall down of the Roman Empire, we had a very important emperor in Italy from Germany, and he was famous. Frederick II, the emperor, was famous for the university in Palermo and in Naples. Was the founder of the first university in Italy. We are talking about the 13th century. And Montefalco, the Roman name was Coccorone. That means on the top of the hill, because Montefalco is exactly on the top of the hill. And Coccorone in the 1241 changed name from Coccorone to Montefalco, thanks Federico II Svevia. Frederick II, he was famous for the hunting, not only for the university, but also for the hunting with the hawks, with the falcon. And he wrote probably the most important book in the world, also today is the most important book in the world, that is called Arts of to hunt with the hawks. The arts to hunt with the hawks. And Montefalco is exactly on the top of the hill, so you can use the falcon to hunting downstairs in the valley, because the valley was with a lot of river, lake, and was useful to use the top of the hill. And Montefalco changed from Coccorone to Montefalco. In this time, we found also some documents that Frederick II wrote to the headquarters, because the headquarters of Federico II was in the south of Italy, in Puglia, in Castel del Monte. It's a very beautiful castle in the north of Puglia. It's famous, so famous that they also in the euro money. If you say the coin in the backside, there is the castle of Federico II. And he was asking the violacum, that was a medieval medicine, and was a natural antibiotic made with wine, sugar, and violet petal in infusion in the inside. And he has an answer from the headquarters. And he made the violacum, the antibiotic for the falcon, and for in Montefalco with a local wine. And Sagrantino means the sacher, the wine that take care to the sucker falcon. And sacher is exactly one kind of falcon with an Arabic name. So Federico II di Svevia, Frederick II, give the name to the town, Montefalco, and to the wine, Sagrantino. So we have a very, very long history.
It's fascinating. And you know, it's really unique because there is a town, Montefalco, there is a region, and there is a wine, Sagrantino di Montefalco. And that sense of place is so important because, as we've said, Sagrantino was only made in Montefalco. How would you describe, and we can too, because we tasted a few vintages and expressions at Bocale. For those who are less familiar with the expression of Sagrantino di Montefalco, how would you describe it? How would you pair it?
Sagrantino is a very powerful wine. It's a wine with a very big, thick skin. So we have a lot of concentration of this wine. And it's a tannic wine. So it's perfect to pairing with a little bit fat meal, like a steak, like a lamb, like a chick with pasta with chick. So it's important wine. And it's a wine with a lot of antioxidant inside. For the American palate, probably one of them wine that you made in the United States is people that like Cab from California likes, of course, Sagrantino. But it's different style, because Italy is very lucky, because we made wine with 700 different kind of grapes. So Italy is the only country in the world that make unique wine. Sagrantino grew up only in 4 small towns around Montefalco, like other 700 different kind of grape. Only Sangiovese you find everywhere in the middle of Italy. All the other grape, like Trebbiano Spoletino, the white indigenous grape, grow up only in 7 small towns. And you know that the town in Italy is not like the town in the United States. Montefalco is 5,000 people. All the area of Sagrantino is 25,000 people. So it's very, very small, tiny area. And we changed a lot Sagrantino process in the last year, because we would like to, the Sagrantino was so tannic in the past, so we need to wait a lot of time to drink this wine. Now we change 2 important things: the timing of the harvest, because in the past we pick up the grape probably to harvest too early, because we need to wait the balance of 2 different maturation: the sugar maturation and the phenolic maturation. The sugar maturation is done in the end of September. The phenolic maturation you need to wait close to the end of October. And in the last years we wait the phenolic maturation because we are more velvet tannins in the Sagrantino. And then we change also the process in the winery from the big size of the barrel to from the small barrel, and we went back to the big size of the barrel. You know that the barrel make 2 different kind of works in different way: the milk oxygenation and the test of the wood to the wine. The milk oxygenation in the big barrel, we need more time, but the time is not a problem for us. The rule of Sagrantino is 3 years of aging in the winery, and our Sagrantino stay 2 years in barrel and minimum 1 year in bottle. The second work that the wood they made is give the test of the wood to the wine. Smaller is the barrel and new is the oak, more heavy is the test of the wood. Bigger is the size of the wood and older is the wood, less is the test of the wood. I told you, we made wine with 700 different kind of grape. We made unique wine, so we would like to make Sagrantino with the original characteristic. This is the reason, because we use the big size of the wood and old wood. We clean the wood to preserve for a long time with the steam machine. So we sterilize the barrel when we change, so we can use for many, many years without problem. We produce around 8,000-9,000 bottles per year of Sagrantino, and you can find in the Italian restaurants in the most important town in the United States, and also in the selected in a wine shop in the United States. The mostly market for me is United States, so you find my Sagrantino everywhere in the United States.
You know, it's a deep, velvety, lush wine. It would be really good with lamb and, of course, a good steak, but also some aged cheeses and risottos. It's really a lovely wine, and it's one you want to savor. You know, this is not your let's kick it back wine. It's a savor. It's a savory wine, and just absolutely lovely. We tasted a few expressions. You have one named after your father. Tell us the differences in the ones you produce at Bocale.
Yeah, the name of the winery is in honor to the third generation. And the first selection that we made is in honor to the second generation. So my father, Ennio. And every year, as I told you, we change, we try to make something different to understand what happened with the longer aging, different kind of maturation, different timing of harvest. We make an experiment every year. We try to find the best way for our customers. And we stay stopped because we need to change every time. The palate of people, they like different wines. So with the same grape, we can make different kind of wine with different process. And with Sagrantino, we change a lot the contact with the skin. In the past, we had 14, 50 days of contact with the skin. Now we are around 40, 45 days. We had a different kind of contact, longer but softer contact. Because before we made 15, 20 days, but 4, 5 pumping over every day. That means that we making contact the skin with all the juice and the wine 4 or 5 times in the day. Now we have a longer contact, or only 1 pumping over per day, and we have a softer and more drinkable tannins in the Sagrantino. And we say, what happens if we made a softer contact with the skin? Less than 1 pumping over is per day is impossible. But we can make by hand, a softer contact by hand. So we make the pushing down by hand. And this job was made for my father, Ennio. We started with using the barrel 500 liters, opening the top side, barrel that we used in the past for aging the wine. And my father made the pushing down. And we have a softer contact with the skin. But this way we can make only 1,200 bottles, so very, very small quantity and a limited edition. All the bottle of Ennio, like in this vintage, the 19 that you tested, we made 1,426 bottles per year. And the name of the wine exactly is Montefalco Sagrantino Ennio, in honor to my father, Ennio.
That's so nice.
I find Sagrantino a very interesting grape because historically it was made as a sweet wine. And it really wasn't until the last century, the late last century, that they started making it as a dry wine. But the tannins, I also find, you think it's a huge wine because it's high alcohol, it's got a lot of body to it, but the tannins are very fine and very silky, in my opinion. And it lends very beautifully to a dry red wine.
And the tannins made a very interesting wine in the Passito version, because Passito made with Sagrantino grape, it was for many, many years the only Passito made with red grape, DOCG. DOCG, which was talking before, is the highest level of the Italian wines. And all the other Passito in Italy is made with white grape. Now we have also Recioto of Valpolicella, that is also DOCG. But Sagrantino Passito was in 1992 the first Passito DOCG made with red grape. And it's very particular and unusual Passito, sweet wine, because thanks the tannins of Sagrantino, the starting in the mouth is sweet, but the end is dry, because the tannins clean immediately your mouth. So also people that don't like so much sweet wine drink Passito of Sagrantino, because the end in the mouth is dry. And you have two kind of pairing with a cheese is perfect, and also all the dessert with chocolate. The best pairing in the dessert is Sagrantino Passito and chocolate, and especially the bitter chocolate, because the dark chocolate, because it's a little bit bitter, and with the pairing with the sweet of the chocolate is perfect. Of the Sagrantino is perfect.
We were told that historically Passito was served for Sunday roasts.
Passito, of course, was used because it was not so sweet. Sagrantino, in Italy, we made sweet wine with the sugar residual around 200, 250 gram per liter. Sagrantino is less than 100 gram per liter, 80, 90. So it's not so sweet. It's sweet, but not so sweet. So in the past, people use also for the lamb during the meal, drinking Sagrantino Passito. And Sagrantino Passito was the wine for the Christmas Eve, was the wine of Easter time. Was the wine to make a gift for all the farmers. They have a lot of products, cheese, wine, olive oil, geese, chicken, but they haven't money, so they make gift giving, and they paid sometime. When the doctor makes a visit and they haven't money to pay, they give a chicken, a bottle of Passito, and a bottle of olive oil to pay the doctor. This is the best way. And Sagrantino was the most important gift to make, the Sagrantino Passito. And the end of the 90s, we started to make Sagrantino Passito also in the dry version, because we found that a very important document of the 1925, that was the catalog of a wine fair in Montefalco, 1925, and we founded 3 wineries that the wine that they showed in the exposition was dry and sweet. Exactly was abboccato, that means sweet, a little bit sweet, and asciutto, that means dry. So we had the 2 versions of Sagrantino, sweet and dry, in the 1925. Then, like I told you before, after the Second War, the farmers changed Sagrantino with other kind of grape to make the table wine. And they left some plants to make the Sagrantino Passito. And the end of the 70s, we started to make dry wine with Sagrantino grape.
So interesting, the history. There is another red wine we should talk about that is a blended wine, Montefalco di Rosso. Let's discuss that.
Montefalco Rosso is the easy drinking wine of our area. Is made with the 70% of Sangiovese, the most known grape in the middle of Italy, and we blend with Sagrantino to try to make a unique Sangiovese, because you find Sangiovese in Emilia-Romagna, in Tuscany, in Marche, Umbria, in the north of Lazio, everywhere in the middle of Italy. And we would like to make a unique Sangiovese blending with Sagrantino. The mostly, of course, is Sangiovese. This 15% is Sagrantino, 10 Merlot, and 5 Colorino. It's a wine that stays 1 year in barrel, 1,000 liter size of the barrel, and minimum 6 months in bottle before release. Minimum 18 months before release. In this moment, we are selling in the winery the vintage 2022. And Sagrantino is the wine with a big meal when you eat something important. Montefalco Rosso is the daily wine. You can drink and you can pairing with everything, with calcots, with pasta, with the red meats, with white meats. So it's easy to pairing with everything. Easy drinking, and is the most wine that we sell in United States. The mostly wine that we sell in United States is Montefalco Rosso and Trebbiano Spoletino.
It's probably in restaurants, the wine by the glass wine too, right?
Yeah, there are two wines that we have a lot by the glass in the United States, because Sagrantino usually, we had also some restaurants that made by the glass Sagrantino, but it's more harder because it's big, higher price. Montefalco Rosso and Trebbiano Spoletino, they are perfect in the range of the wine by the glass. So we sell a lot because the Italian, especially the Italian restaurants, they propose the Montefalco Rosso and Trebbiano Spoletino by the glass to the customers. And now we need to talk about Trebbiano Spoletino.
Right.
Yes, exactly. I was just going to bring that up. So there is a third main grape in the region, and it is called Trebbiano Spoletino, and it is a type of Trebbiano. Why don't you tell us about it? Because it's really unique to that area.
Yeah, Trebbiano Spoletino, I told you before, is the grape of the valley. The origin of the name is totally different than the other Trebbiano in Italy. We have Trebbiano in Tuscany, we have Trebbiano in Abruzzo, we have Trebbiano in Lugano, in Garda Lake. Everywhere is made, because Trebbiano means the white local wine. So we have the local white everywhere. Trebbiano Spoletino, the origin of the name came from Trevi, the Latin name of Trevi, that was Trebbia. So it's the grape that grew up from Trebbia and Spoleto. Trebbia is the town in front of Montefalco. Spoleto is the most important town of the Umbria Valley, in the lower side of Umbria Valley, that closed the Umbria Valley. And Trebbiano Spoletino was so difficult to grow up this kind of grape, because it was the grape of the valley. In the valley, the farmers, they can use the vineyard. The farmers in the past, they need to make everything, because the first target of the farm was make the food for the family, for the workers of the family, for the animals of the family. So they make cereals, they make forage, they make other kind of fruit, vegetables in the valley. So then they can use all the land of the farm to make vineyards, to grow up the vines with the vineyard system. In the valley, they use a very strange system. The system was called marriage system. What means? They use usually close to the road, close to the border with another property, to put some plants. And they grow up the vines in another kind of plants. Usually was an elm. And the vines grow up. With this system, the grape that made this kind of vines was 100, 80, 90. So a lot of production. Because every year in the vineyard, we pruning the grape, the vines. In the marriage system, it was impossible to make the pruning. Now, we change the system, and we use the system of the hills. We use usually Guyot, and we made 8-9 bunches per plant. And Trebbiano Spoletino is a very unusual white grape, because all the other white grape, the harvest in Italy, in Europe, is in the August and in the start of September. We pick up the grape of Trebbiano Spoletino in the second half of October. So we close the harvest with Trebbiano Spoletino and Sagrantino. So we pick up the grape of the white grape when we close the harvest. This is very, very unusual. And when we pick up the Trebbiano Spoletino in the second half of October, we pick up usually 8-9 bunches per plant. 2-3 bunches are still green in the second half of October. With the former system, the merit system, was impossible to get the maturation. And this is the reason, because the most important and the most known white grape in Umbria is Grechetto, is not Trebbiano Spoletino. But I promise you that in few years, Trebbiano Spoletino will be the most important white grape in Umbria, especially in the Sagrantino area. Will be, with Sagrantino, the white indigenous grape that grow up in our area. Now we pick up the grape in the second half of October. Then the grape stay in contact with the skin one night. We made the cold maceration in contact with the skin. The day after of the harvest, usually we press the grape and then start fermentation. The secret of the flowers of Trebbiano Spoletino is a very slow fermentation, 16, 17 degrees Celsius for 1 month, and then 4 months on the fine lees before the bottling. And Trebbiano Spoletino is a very, very interesting also in the nose. Is many flowers, peaches, fruit particularly, and there is a very interesting balance between the acidity of the green bunches that we pick up when we have the harvest and the perfect maturation bunches. And it's perfect with saffron, with rice with saffron, with white and black truffles, with all kind of fish. So it's perfect for pairing with many dishes that you use in the United States.
How would you compare, or what wine or variety would you compare Trebbiano Spoletino to that our listeners may be more familiar with?
With the other white or with the red? No, because the Trebbiano Spoletino, I told you when you was here, is the white wine more similar than the red, because it's very late harvest, because we need to wait the maturation of the grape in the second half of October. There is not a kind of grape with the harvest so late. And then there is the contact with the skin. Usually when you pick up the grape, the skin stay outside of the winery. We have immediately the pressing. Trebbiano Spoletino can stay also a long time in contact with the skin. We are making some experiment. Probably in the next year, we will have a Trebbiano Spoletino new version that make the contact with the skin during the fermentation. So 30-35 days in contact with the skin. So we are trying to make an experiment, and probably the next visit that you come in my winery, you can test a second version of Trebbiano Spoletino, a limited edition of Trebbiano Spoletino. And Trebbiano Spoletino is unique. Probably the flowers, people that love in United States Chardonnay, they fall in love with Trebbiano Spoletino, of course.
There you go. It's a very aromatic wine.
It is an aromatic wine, but
beautiful.
also a lot of flinty minerality to it as well. It's very interesting, kind of steeliness to it. It's interesting. He was talking about the marriage vines. We went to another winery, not yours, Valentino, but it was near you, and they actually had some of those legacy vines still growing on trees in their vineyard. It was very interesting to see that.
It was a very small It was a very small winery, and the founder was a father of Spolentino. He'd done a lot.
They are very close to me, because I'm in the lower part of the hill of Montefalco, and the marriage system was the system of the valley that is very, very close to me.
Right.
And I would like to plant again, because I would like to show the old system, the history. If you show the picture of my grandfather that probably you have, we can see behind my grandfather and the brothers the view that you have behind you, but also the old system, the marriage system, the vines that grow up in the other kind of tree. Because the farmers, they need to use all small piece of land. And the marriage system was useful to use all small piece of land close to the border, close to the road. Because the farmers, they need to use all small piece of land. I remember Italy, after the Second War, was so poor, and the farmers tried to make the biggest production in the farm.
It's interesting, on their website, bocale.wine, there's a very old black and white picture of, I'm assuming it's your grandfather with some oxen, and he's standing in front of one of those old vines.
Yeah, the marriage vine.
Exactly. I'm talking about this picture. There is my grandfather, Giuseppe, the brother Valentino, and the other brother Guido. This picture was taken probably in 1944, because there is a small child in front of the three men, and this child was born in April 42. So probably it's a child of 2 years and a half. Is the elder cousin of my father. And this is the picture that is the best promotion of the history of my winery, because there is the land of Umbria, there is the Trebbiano Spoletino old system, my grandfather and my family, and the oaks that they used to work the land. This is a very particular oaks, kind of oaks. This is called Chianina, that is famous in the middle of Italy, in Tuscany and Umbria. And they are very, very different than the other kind of oaks, because you can see very, very long legs, and they need power to work the land, because they use this kind of oaks to work the soil before planting again the cereals, and they work the land usually in September, end of August and start of September. And this picture was taken, I think, in the end of the summer 44.
You know, it's hard to imagine from the American viewpoint how poor Italy was after the war, because the war happened in Italy and in Europe, and we sent troops over, but we were not at war in the United States. It was a different setting. And everywhere we travel, whether it's Italy or France, we see the effect of the wars and how everybody had to rebuild and replant and rethink how to support their families. Because at the end of the day, it started with supporting families. When you talk about cereal, just to be clear for our American listeners, you're talking about grains. So wheat and other kinds of grains, not the cereal we get in a box here.
And we never forgot that we can rebuild Italy thanks thousands and thousands American young guys that went in Italy to fight against the Nazis and the fascists, to give the democracy to Italy. So we can't forget.
We can't. And what is great about it is those wonderful men who served, and some women who served, they came back with an appreciation for Italian food and wine that really built the renaissance of Italian wine and food grocery stores and restaurants in the United States. It's the number one, no, now Mexican is, but it's one of the top cuisines in the United States. And that's why Italian wines are so popular. And it all kind of started from the era of the war. So let's talk about visiting Bocale for those who'd like to visit. Give us an idea of how to get there from a major airport or from the town of Montefalco, and what kind of tours do you offer?
I told you that we are exactly in the middle of Italy. So the nearest international airport is Rome, 2 hours and a half. So very, very close to Montefalco. And then in Umbria, you can visit the main capital, that is Perugia. Perugia is famous for the chocolate. Is the Bacio Perugina is one of the famous chocolate in Italy. We have 3 important towns for chocolate production: Torino, Perugia, and Modica in Sicily. So the 3 best chocolate in Italy. And Perugia is famous for Perugina chocolate. Then I told you before Assisi, that is the town of San Francis. And we have many, many small towns like Montefalco, Bevagna, Spello. I told you before that we were for 600 years under the Pope domination. And one important thing, thanks the Pope domination, was that the Pope, they need to make the communication through the most important master of the Renaissance. And we have frescoes of the master of Renaissance everywhere, not only in the big cities. You find in Spello Pinturicchio, you find in Perugia Piero della Francesca, you find Perugino, that was Pietro Vannucci. In Montefalco, you find the starting of Renaissance in Umbria. Montefalco is famous for 2 things. We was talking about Sagrantino and the wine production from the Roman time. Montefalco is also famous for the starting of Renaissance. We make the introduction of the new vintage of Sagrantino in the St. Francis Church. And in front of you was the most important painting in Umbria of the starting of Renaissance, 1452, painted by Benozzo Gozzoli, the Florentine painter, that means the start of the Renaissance in Umbria. Then you find Filippo Lippi in Spoleto, Signorelli in Orvieto. So Umbria is a beautiful region, unknown region, and you can visit Rome and Florence and have a step in Umbria and visit the most important wine region, that is Montefalco. And we have in Montefalco around 85 wineries, open every day. And like my winery is a small winery, and we are open every day, minimum 2 times per day, 11 in the morning and 3 p.m. in the afternoon, to make visit and tours in tasting in the winery. Everywhere you can visit and tasting wine, olive oil, cereals, because we are also famous for cereals, for calcats. Umbria is famous for the Valnerina area and Norcia town that is very important for the calcats and the ham. If you visit Rome and you try to find a sandwich with ham, the shop that sell calcats in Rome is called Norcineria. And Norcineria take the name from the name of Norcia, that is a town in Umbria, famous also for the black truffles. So in Umbria, you can have a relax, you can feel the real style of life of Italy.
Well, you said it's the heart. It's the green Italy. I think it's the heart. And I just want to echo, I ate truffles every day. They were so good.
So good.
Over
Is
pasta
the eggs is the best way to test the truffles.
Oh,
The
yeah,
white
that's for
and
sure.
the black.
Just fabulous. Just fabulous. Well,
And Trebbiano
Valentino,
Spoletino is the best pairing.
it is. It is. And, we really had only tasted Trebbiano Spoletino once prior when we first came to Montefalco. And I think we both agreed that the wines are being made even better than ever in the second visit that we did. And it definitely is a white wine for everyone to get their hands on and try. And it's very versatile with food. So again, we've been talking with Valentino Valentini of Bocale Winery. You were not only the mayor of Montefalco, but we think you're an ambassador for Umbria.
I was so young when I was mayor. I was 27 and was elected for 2 terms. Yeah,
wow.
it was so... And it was a very interesting time because it was the time when Montefalco changed a lot. When I started the winery in Montefalco was 9. When I finished it, 85. Because it was the time that all the farmers, like my family, from grape production, they became wine production. So they closed all the process from grape production to the wine production. So we have a lot of grain production, around 160. 85 now make the label and the bottling.
It's a lot of progress, and there's some wonderful wineries, including Bocale. So we encourage everyone there is a consortio in Montefalco that you can learn more information. And of course, we have Bocale's website, which is
Bocale.wine.
Bocale.wine. We encourage everybody to take a look and go to your local wine shop or restaurant and ask to try some Sagrantino de Montefalco. And if they have it, Trebbiano Spoletino, so you can learn from taste for yourself how wonderful these wines are. Valentino Valentini, thank you for joining us on the Connected Table. It's always a pleasure to see you, and it's always a pleasure to visit Montefalco, right, David?
Well, we can't wait to go back.
Yeah.
It's a region on the rise and certainly worthy of everybody's attention.
Yeah, there's so much more to explore in Umbria. We still haven't been to Perugia. We haven't been to a lot of areas, but we're going to make it back. So you've been listening to another edition of the Connected Table Live based on our virtual background. We have been near Montefalco in Umbria, the green heart of Italy. We encourage you to check more information out on our website, theconnectedtable.com. You can listen to this show and all our podcasts on more than 65 channels around the world on demand anytime. And please check out this show again and all our other shows on the Connected Table TV. And we're part of Talk 4 Media. So as always, we love to say molto bene, grazie per tutti when we're talking to our Italian friends.
See you soon in Montefalco.
See in salute, we raise a glass. And to everyone who is watching and listening, always stay insatiably curious.